it's time to panic, Cowboys fans. However, we are just 1 week away from the NFL opener in Philly, and Micah Parsons is still not on the field. Trey Hendrickson and Terry McLaurin ended their contract stalemates this week, but Parsons is still standing firm. And there's the little thing also about him having a sore back as well. So that's a thing.
It sure is. As we say hello to our NFL insider, Dan Graziano, and NFL analyst, Sam Acho. Are we going to have a resolution to the situation by kickoff?
It's starting to feel that way, Christine. Yes, it's starting to feel over the last 24 hours or so like a resolution could be somewhat imminent, like next couple of days imminent. I think the Cowboys are at a point where they'd like to get this resolved, by the end of the weekend. You think about they play Thursday, so Sunday would be the equivalent of a regular game week Wednesday, and they have a full practice and all that kind of stuff. So they'd like to know who they're going to have and who they're not. So one way or the other, whether he decides to play on his current contract, whether they're able to resuscitate talks and get him a new contract, whether they trade him, which sounds like it's more of a possibility than I would have said it was a week ago, or whether he decides to keep sitting out with his back injury and hang around but not play. So there's still a lot of different possible outcomes here, but I do get the sense that we're headed towards some sort of resolution here in the next couple of days.
Okay, so Sam, based on what Dan just said, what do you think is more likely? Parsons gets a deal or he gets traded?
I think it's more likely that he does get the deal. I don't think it's like this 80-20. I think it's more of like a 60-40, 55-45. But you think about how productive Micah Parsons has been over his entire career. And yes, there's a higher likelihood of this conversation of a trade. But if Jerry Jones and a cooler head prevails, I think he'll come to the table with the deal that Micah Parsons wants. I don't see Micah Parsons really settling for anything less than being the highest paid player outside of quarterback in all of the NFL. So Jerry Jones has to be able to meet him in the middle and give him the deal he wants.
Okay, so Sam thinks he's getting a deal, but Dan, we do know that there are 31 other teams that would take Parsons in a heartbeat. But which one do you think makes the most sense?
Well, it's hard to pin one down. I mean, I think, you look at teams that are contending teams that maybe one more piece might take them over the top. A team like the Green Bay Packers, who I know has been rumored out there in terms of this. We don't know for a fact that they're involved, but you could see it making sense for a team like that, or a Buffalo Bill. Also, he's 26 years old. This isn't just like a go-for-it-now move. Like if you're the New England Patriots, who you're building up your defense and you're thinking about contending for a long period of time with your new coaching staff in place, teams like that, you said it, Christine. There's no team that couldn't use him. The Commanders could use him and the Eagles could use him, but I seriously doubt they would trade him to either of their division rivals.
Okay, so Sam, he laid out a couple of contenders. Which Super Bowl caliber team do you think could use Micah Parsons?
I like Green Bay when it comes to Super Bowl caliber teams. Why? They have a 26-year-old quarterback who's Super Bowl caliber. They have a 27-year-old pass rusher named Rashawn Gary, who's also Super Bowl caliber. Now you have this 26-year-old top-tier player in the entire NFL, Micah Parsons, to be a bookend alongside Rashawn Gary, not just for this year, but for the foreseeable future, with young, talented receivers, a new defensive coordinator from last season. And I think the Green Bay Packers would be a perfect fit for Micah Parsons if he does get dealt. Why? Because they have a roster that can win right now, and they'll have the incentive to try to make a move if a move is going to be made.
Okay, so all eyes on this weekend, whether or not Micah stays in Dallas or not. I'm a little sad. The drama will be over. I like drama. And more from you later. Sam, I think Amina needs you.
She does.
Oh, yeah, I do. Sam, we need to put your college football hat on. Get on over here and let's talk the 3 top 10 matchups this weekend. We have number 10 Miami hosting number 6 Notre Dame Sunday night in primetime. And then Saturday in primetime, it's 9th-ranked LSU taking on number 4 Clemson. But first, we have a big one. Arch Manning and the number 1 Longhorns taking on the reigning champs and now 3rd-ranked Buckeyes. I thought it was going to take you a little bit longer to get over here, but look, Sam is doing his job. He's very speedy. Let's talk with the number 1 team, Texas, going up against number 3 Ohio State. Who has the most to prove on Saturday?
Well, Texas absolutely has the most to prove in this matchup. Number 1, because they were the number 1 ranked team in the nation. And also you have a quarterback by the name of Arch Manning, who people have been talking about for the last several years. This is Texas's time. You have the quarterback, you have the coach, you have the defense who's returning. There's no reason that Texas shouldn't be competing for a national championship this season. They've been to the college football playoffs twice. They have lost in the college football playoffs twice. So if anybody has pressure, it's the Texas Longhorns this year with Arch Manning and Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one. Also, reminder, the legend Lee Corso will make his final College Game Day appearance in Columbus at Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern on ESPN and the app. 9th-ranked LSU and number 4 Clemson meet Saturday night on ABC, fighting for more than just bragging rights of the real Death Valley. Who cannot afford to come up short in this battle?
Brian Kelly, the head coach of LSU, cannot afford to come up short in this battle. Why? Because every single year that Brian Kelly's been the head coach of LSU, in the opening game, they've lost every single time. You think about all of the hype that LSU has this season. There's so much excitement. You talked to Brian Kelly last year. He said, man, this year is going to be the year. Well, we're here, and there's still some sense of doubt when it comes to at least this week 1 matchup. They're playing a team in Clemson that is returning 16 starters, 8 on offense, 8 on defense. And yes, Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback for LSU, is a top-tier talent, but there have been some lulls in his game historically. And so I think Brian Kelly has to prove that he can win early and win often when it comes to this matchup.
Yeah, Brian Kelly, 3-10 in top 10 matchups as the head coach. His most recent one came against Clemson in 2020. And finally, this is a game that I'm going to be sad for. All right, number 6 Notre Dame and number 10 Miami. They'll reignite their rivalry on Sunday night, primetime on ABC. Who has the most to gain from showing out in this matchup?
I'll go quarterback Carson Beck. Why? Because last year, Miami had a quarterback transfer in Cam Ward who went number 1 overall, led the league in passing yards, really top 2 in passing yards. Carson Beck 2 years ago was a projected number 1 overall pick at Georgia. He came back at Georgia. He had some high highs, but some low lows. There's a 3-game stretch. I believe he threw 9 picks in those 3 games. Then he finished the season strong. Then he got injured in the SEC championship game. If Carson Beck proves that he's healthy, that he's the same quarterback that he was 2 years ago, this could be a player we're talking about in the top 5, top 10, maybe even number 1 overall.
Yeah, Beck went 24-3 as a starter and enters the season with the 6th shortest odds to win the Heisman. I cannot wait for that matchup as a Miami alum. Acho, you could take a deep breath now because you've been running around the studio and it's only been 5 minutes, 7 minutes into the show?
I need some more deep.
We had to make that a segment, and that leads us to Acho Mind. Sam Acho and Dan Graziano are back here with us. And Graz, you have an ESPN.com article featuring your bold predictions for the NFL season. You give us a prediction, and then Sam will let you know if you are Acho Mind. All right, so first, which NFC team should people not be sleeping on?
The San Francisco 49ers. This is a team that was in overtime of the Super Bowl about 20 months ago and fell apart last year due to injuries across the roster. They have Christian McCaffrey back healthy. They have Trent Williams back healthy. They have Brock Purdy signed long-term and in the fold. They still have George Kittle, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. They have a lot of very good players, and they know how to win. When McCaffrey has been healthy under Kyle Shanahan, this has not just been a playoff contender, but a Super Bowl contender. 13 of the games they will play in the regular season are against teams that missed last year's playoffs. 49ers are set up.
All right, Sam, it's Dan Acho Mind.
Dan Graziano, you are Acho Mind. A lot can happen in 20 months. You're talking about all the players who were injured. Look at all the players who were gone. Brandon Ayuk is still not healthy, so he's going to be gone. Deebo Samuel plays for the Washington Commanders. Dre Greenlaw, one of their star linebackers who was hurt, is not coming back. He plays for the Broncos right now. There's so much talent that has left this team. So to say that they'll be contending for a Super Bowl this season with question marks at receiver has me thinking that you are absolutely Acho Mind.
There was a lot of emphasis on that Acho Mind right there, Dan. Lamar Jackson is the favorite to repeat as